Hello, everyone. This is Phil Johnson, and joining me again today is Sherry Welsh of sherrywelsh.com. Sherry is a leadership coach, and she works with professionals, both with individuals privately and with groups within companies. You can get a copy of Sherry's book, Slowing Down: Unexpected Ways to Thrive as a Female Leader, from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or other book retailers. Sherry, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Phil.
Sherry, today I'd like to continue our discussion of energy leadership and how you use the principles of energy leadership in your coaching practice. And particularly, I'd like to continue talking about the 7 levels of energy leadership. Last time we talked about levels 1 and 2, victim energy and fighter energy. Can you give us a little bit of a recap of those?
Sure. So level 1 and level 2 are both very catabolic energy levels, which means they're very draining and destructive and exhausting over time. So level 1 is the victim energy state where you feel really helpless in a situation. You feel like you can't do anything about it. There's no way out or no one there to help you, so you feel really alone and isolated. And then level 2, there's a little bit more movement with level 2 where you get a little bit of action, a little bit of yelling maybe, a little bit of force. Again, over time it's very draining, so it's not the most optimal way to operate in the world. And many times in leadership, people feel the need to kind of push things through or get through the day or force an issue. That's level 2 energy. So it can be productive to a point, but it's not sustainable because over time you'll get exhausted by constantly pushing against an easier way of getting things done.
Great. So today we're moving from those levels 1 and 2, which are nearly all catabolic energy, and we're moving into some more productive energy, right? With levels 3 and 4?
Yeah, exactly.
So can you introduce levels 3 and 4 and tell us a little bit about those?
Sure. Yeah, so what happens under normal circumstances throughout the day? So this could be a typical day at work or a typical day at home or an evening at home, whatever might be going on for you in a typical day. And as we mentioned before, we all fluctuate between these 7 levels throughout the day. And many times under stress, we default to level 1 or 2, depending on what's going on and our interpretation of it. And then under more typical circumstances, we're hanging out in level 3 and 4 most often. So level 3 is a bit more anabolic than the levels 1 and 2. So there's some more forward movement in level 3. At level 3, we call it the Rationalizer energy level, and that's where you're moving forward, you're taking action, you're putting a plan together. You use your left brain, your logical aspect of your brain, to get things done. And so what happens as a rationalizer, you pretty much have a goal in mind or a task to complete or an objective or whatever it might be, and you're not going to let people get in your way. You're not going to let anything stop you. So you rationalize other people's behavior. You rationalize that this is the right thing to do because I have a place to get to, I have something to accomplish. And so you keep moving forward. So it is more productive than the forced level 2 energy. And it has a higher anabolic component to it, so it's more satisfaction coming through. You're taking personal responsibility for what you want to get done. But one of the disadvantages of level 3 is that it may drain you a bit because there is still some catabolic energy there. And that shows up in the form of potentially manipulating others to get what you want. So when I said, you have a job to do or a task to get done, you may kind of manipulate others to clear the path so you can keep moving forward, because it's important that I win, that I get done what I want to get done. And I'm not so focused on the others right now.
Great. Thanks, Sherry. That's a good intro to level 3. How about level 4?
Yeah, so as you move up the 7 levels, with, as we said, 1 being the most catabolic, and now we're moving into a more split range of catabolic, anabolic. And level 4 is a lot more anabolic now, because you're getting into compassion and concern for others. Level 4 is known as the caregiver energy level, and it's where a lot of us that are parents, we spend some time there in level 4 as it relates to our children. Those that are bosses of others have manager responsibilities, direct reports in companies. Level 4 energy is going to kick in quite a bit throughout the day as you're taking care of leading your team and taking care of others, ensuring that you give them the support that they want and they request throughout the day. As far as level 4 goes, when it relates to friends, you may be the one that organizes everyone getting together and taking care of others and making sure everyone knows what's happening. So level 4 energy is really, it feels good. It feels good to help others. It feels good to make things easier for others.
So we're finally getting to something that feels a little more inspired.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to help others, especially when we think they're struggling. So it could be your kids, they need a little bit of help to get to where they need to get to, or with some homework, or with a problem with some friends at school. And so it feels good to be able to step in and help them. The thing with level 4 that we caution, and when I'm working with clients, I really talk about, okay, so the thing to watch in level 4 is that you also take care of yourself, that you give yourself the nurturing and love that you require to be your best, to be at your optimal level. And it's something that many of us, I know I did for many years, would overlook and keep my focus on how can I help others. Partly because I wanted to help others, I enjoy helping others, but also a little bit of, a tiny bit of catabolic in there. I would want them to need me. It felt good to be needed. Mm-hmm. And so, I give an example when I talk to my clients about my son. He didn't walk until 19 months. And part of that was because I carried him everywhere, because I enjoyed it. I wanted to help him. It was easier if I just picked him up and carried him, both for me and it seemed for him. But what that did was delay his motor skill development and delay his ability to be a little bit more independent. Mm-hmm. And so that can backfire. So if you give to others throughout the day, especially in companies where you're a manager of a team and you're taking care of everything that's going on for your team, your colleagues, what's going to happen is you're going to get burnout. And you're denying them the opportunity to learn valuable skills for themselves. Mm-hmm. And so it can backfire a bit if you don't watch it. Again, it's much more productive energy than obviously level 1 or 2. But it's something to watch, that you are nurturing and taking care of yourself first and foremost. That's the oxygen mask example in airplanes, when the stewardess says, put it on you first before you help others.
Right. So maybe you can tell me if I'm understanding this correctly then. Last time in talking about levels 1 and 2 and in your recap today, the victim energy, the fighter energy, those are kind of our default response to stress. But with levels 3 and 4, the rationalizer, the caregiver, we spend a lot of time here. This is kind of our default normal. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a good way to frame it. So we may spend a lot of time there assuming that things are going the way they normally do and that things are moving along, right? That you're making progress. You're moving, with Rationalizer, you're moving yourself along. You're accomplishing the goals that you set with a clear plan and objectives and making things happen. With the caregiver, you're helping your team along. You're helping others move along in whatever way that might be. So both of them are definitely forward motion, which is what you want. right? Stagnation is definitely not fun, nor inspiring in any way. So what happens is, as you're moving along, and let's say you're in your level 4 energy and you're helping your team and you're helping others, and you're finding at the end of the day you didn't get anything done that you wanted to get done because you spent all your time helping others. And then you don't get necessarily the feedback you thought you'd get from them, that, well, thank you, which tends to be overlooked a lot. Or, I really appreciate everything you did for me today. Sorry I took your time. Any of those things that others may say. So in your mind, you start to build resentment that people don't appreciate you. I do all this for them and they just don't appreciate it. Now you've immediately taken yourself out of your level 4 into your level 2, where resentment lives. And you start to build some animosity towards what's going on. And again, it's all created in some thoughts you're having.
Right. I did this, and this for you, and you didn't even say thank you. Or
Exactly. So because someone didn't say thank you after you've helped them and spent most of the day helping them, now all of a sudden you're believing that they're ungrateful. Mm-hmm. You believe, how dare they? I spent all this time helping them and they didn't even thank me. So you're creating a story around something that just were 2 words that did not come out of a person's mouth. And now you're stewing, and now you're spending your energy. It's going to get drained and sucked out of you, because now you're stewing in this so-called resentment that is all made up.
Yeah. So it seems like this level 4 caregiver is helping others, but with a little bit of expectation attached. Is that right?
Can be. Yeah, it can be. And that's definitely the thing to watch for, right? Is that you're truly helping others out of the pure joy of giving and serving, instead of you're helping others to get something in return.
Right.
Which would be either appreciation or love or adoration or whatever it might be. Yeah. So it's a fine line, to watch there. And with level 4 is a state of being that you don't have to hang out long in. Mm-hmm. So it's good to help others, especially new members of a team where they're just not up to speed on the culture of the company or the dynamics of the team or the actual job responsibilities. So your level 4 will be very valuable there, and it'll be very useful to help them in that moment. The key is to watch the time frame, that it doesn't go on, that you keep every day after day, you're helping them and you're helping them with the same thing over and over, right, where they're not then stepping into what's they're capable of doing on their own.
Right.
And that's when you want to pull away and now shift and ask them some empowering questions that say, okay, how can you take it from here? Right? I'm confident you can do it from here. Let me know if you're going to need my help and if anything comes up, but I'm really confident you can take it from here. And that's now moving out of level 4, where you're giving to them, into level 5 space, which I know we'll talk about next time, where you're really having them step up, and then you're freed up to move into what's next for you. And so that it's best for both of you, that you allow them now to take their own steps and take their responsibility for their own work.
So there's a lot of benefit there to level 4 in moving you forward. But if I'm not careful about it, I can end up burning myself out and back down in level 2 with my fists up, wondering, why this or why that. Exactly. Where I should be more consciously looking forward to, okay, I've helped them to the point where now we can partner together in level 5. Exactly.
And if it's useful, I just had a conversation with a client in one of our sessions last week where this exact scenario was taking place. And he's a manager of a team of people, and the team is not as up to speed on the skill sets as he wants them, and they'll get there with time. But he's spending his days going through emails and filtering things and, taking care of all these requests of everyone, not just his team, but everyone in the company. And he's getting burned out. He was on vacation and came back, he had 1,000 emails.
Wow.
Now, that's overwhelming. And when overwhelm kicks in, you drop down into your level 1, where you feel totally helpless to get through 1,000 emails. Or you can even go into your level 2 a little bit, where you fight through them, right? And you force your way through them. And what I was helping him see was that, none of those emails have to be answered. It's possible that people already took care of it on their own while you were gone. And what you can do is really, what's the most productive thing you can do in this space that would really benefit yourself and others. Mm-hmm. And, as we talked through it, he started to see that, he was spending his day just being available to help his team whenever they needed help, sort of as a reactionary stance. Mm-hmm. Instead of an empowering stance that says, you know what, guys, I know you can do your jobs and do them well. I'm here should you need me. In the meantime, I'm going to focus on the strategic aspect of our work. And that is really more of a level 5 position. Instead of kind of sitting, waiting till people needed him in a level 4 space. I mean, it's very generous and very kind, but it's not the optimal state to be in as a manager.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, I feel like we recapped levels 1 and 2. We had a good intro of 3 and 4, and then we've had a little bit of discussion of how level 4 is related to level 2, and if we're using it properly, can help us get to level 5. Can you talk a little bit more about level 3 and its relationship with the other levels?
Sure. Yeah. So level 3, when I work with clients and I use the IPEC Energy Leadership Index assessment when I first start working with clients, because it's really a useful tool. It's very valuable to get an individual's unique energy profile. And most people have level 3 as their primary energy under normal conditions, meaning under a typical day. And what that means is we're conditioned, and this comes about from the industrial age, that we're conditioned the way, kids are taught in school. It's reading, writing, arithmetic, right? That's all left brain activity. And so at level 3, you're very rational, you're very logical, you're very analytical. A lot of accountants and engineers and lawyers tend to have high level 3 energy because it's very effective. It gets things done. You can measure it. So a lot of people tend to fall into level 3 as their natural state. And it makes sense given how we're educated and how society measures things. Mm-hmm. So level 3 is going to be very useful, especially in companies where you have a lot of metrics and a lot of goals, and salespeople use level 3 to get a lot of sales goals met. Mm-hmm. And so level 3 is very useful. However, the one part of level 3, again, that has some catabolic piece of it, a tendency, a nuance to it, is that, at level 3, you're going to get the job done. And, if someone gets in your way, you're going to ignore them and kind of rationalize their behavior as, not necessary or idiotic or whatever judgment might go on, mm-hmm. and keep plowing ahead because you have a job to do. And if it benefits them, that's great, but that's not your primary focus. In level 5 space, that's where you're true partners. And you're still really productive. You're getting things done. You're making things happen, just like you would at level 3. Mm-hmm. Yet it has a more anabolic component to it where it's also benefiting the other person. So you're not acting alone. Mm-hmm. You're not acting like I got to, meet my goal come hell or high water. In level 5 space, you're like, I'm going to meet my objectives, but I'm going to ensure that it benefits the others as well. and that we all win, that it really makes sense for both of us in this.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a much more enjoyable place to be, level 5.
Yeah.
Level 3 is good because you problem solve, you get things done, you make things happen, but over time it's going to be more draining than it will be in level 5. So that's why when I work with clients, I really work with them to help them see how level 5 space is a better option. It's more productive, it's more inspiring, it's more enjoyable, it's more useful for all involved, especially team dynamics. And so that's what we're going to do to in the skills that they learn as we coach together, how to question the beliefs that I got to do this alone, how can this other person also benefit. That's the kind of work we do when we get into level 5 space.
Okay. So in level 3, there's a difference from level 2 that I'm hearing, where the other people are around me, but I kind of ignore them if they're in my way, or tolerate them. I don't engage with them to fight them on things because I have a job to do and I'm going to get that done.
You got it.
But I could see how that could have a side effect over the long term of, stepping on people's toes, injuring some feelings, that kind of thing. Whereas more of a partnership, in level 5, you're seeking to do things together with people. And I could see that would be a lot more inspiring.
Yeah. And a lot more productive for the business, right? And for your relationships and for life in general.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, level 3. So you can look at on the personal side, if you're planning a vacation, there's things to take. You got to book a flight. You got to book the hotel. You got to get the rental car. That's where level 3 is very productive, and yet you want to consider, well, it would be even more fun if I had different people doing different jobs so that we're all in this together. Mm-hmm. And it's really a group effort. And so everyone feels like they participated in creating the perfect vacation.
Yeah.
And that would be the difference. Then you have one person does the car, one person does the flights, and it's kind of fun because each one is doing the part that really utilizes their skill set.
Mm-hmm. Well, this has been a really good discussion, Sherry. When I first heard the concept of the 7 levels of energy leadership, catabolic to anabolic, I thought, well, let me just be in level 7 all the time. I appreciate seeing the usefulness, even occasionally, of level 1 or level 2. Mm-hmm. But today, particularly with levels 3 and 4, at the same time, it's good to be aware of the pitfalls of each one and see where they're not useful and how they can end up hurting you.
You got it. And holding you back from what you want to create. Yeah, that's the key. That they all have their advantages and disadvantages. And it's just to gain more awareness of when this level would be more effective and more useful in what I'm up to and what I want, what I say I want to do.
Yeah. In
this moment.
Well, Sherry, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Phil. I enjoyed it.
And thank you also for being with us. Hope you enjoyed this discussion of levels 3 and 4 of the 7 levels of energy leadership. And please come back again next time to hear our podcast on levels 5, 6, and 7, the more anabolic, inspiring, and uplifting levels. For Sherry Welsh today, this is Phil Johnson. Thank you for listening.